Yo, what's going on, your boy Ghost here. Today I am bringing you guys another comparison video between the M13 and Grau. Now this comparison was actually requested of me by a subscriber, and I've actually made this comparison twice in the past, but each time has been for its own unique reason. And I think now, given the current meta landscape and just given the whole situation with the weapons in Warzone, I feel like it has been, or this is an appropriate time to make this comparison once again. And especially since I made the RAM and M13 comparison, I felt like it was the right time to do this one again. And I got some very interesting takes on this one. It's going to be a little different from the last video. If you guys did watch the last video, this is going to be some things said that are going to be completely different than my last video. But before we get into that, I want to say if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 2K, and I want to hit it by the end of June. Given statistically how I grow, it doesn't seem likely, but I don't know, miracles happen. So if you can help a brother out, man, please hit the subscribe button. Also, if you find this video informative, useful, or entertaining, please leave a like. I guess the goal is for 15. And yeah, with that being said, let's get into the comparison. And here we have the recoil pattern for the Grau, which as you can see is not too crazy. And when you put on your attachments and you start, getting into actual gunfight, there's pretty much no recoil. And that's what made it, or that's one of the traits that made it meta back in the day. And to be honest, the Grau meta is by far one of my favorite metas of all time. And when you combine it with the snake shots, it just, I don't know, man. It was the funnest times in Warzone. And I wish we could go back. Sometimes I just wish we could go back. And before the AMAX nerf, like that whole time period when we had the DMR meta, the AUG meta, and then Season 3, the Grau was one of those weapons where like you kind of used occasionally for fun, but some people would say it was viable, but at the end of the day, just sometimes felt it was too weak in comparison to the meta at the time. But now with this whole era of after the supposed AMAX nerf, a lot of weapons just feel better, and the Grau feels a whole lot better. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that it got buffed. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying to me saying like, oh, it got buffed or it got more damage now, because it doesn't. It's just that's not true at all. I'm not a TikTok guy where like, oh, the Grau received a secret buff. It didn't. It didn't receive anything like that. But this is something I mentioned in my last video, where since there is no overwhelmingly strong weapon, I feel like a lot of weapons now feel just a lot more stronger. It's just this placebo effect where we're not dying in 2 bullets to like a DMR or an AUG. And so it just makes all these other weapons feel much stronger, and it feels like we have a much more fair just playing environment, which is great. I love this meta. This is one of the top metas in the game right now, because in reality, there is no meta. You could literally run whatever gun you want and you're going to be successful, because that's just how strong the weapons are. But right now, the reason why I wanted to use the Grau was because, I used M13, and you guys saw what I said about the M13 in my last video, where, I was praising it for being good. But I realized, if I'm using M13 and it's this good, what happens if I use the Grau? Because I always considered the Grau to be, the better version of M13. And even after it got nerfed, I still felt like it was better because the damage was just much stronger, or it just made it much stronger. And I remember, man, back when the Grau was meta, bro, I remember some people tried to tell me that the M13 was better at that time, and it was just mind-boggling to me. That's where kind of the hatred for M13 started, because people were so delusional at the time. Nowadays, the Grau isn't this overpowered, untouchable weapon. It's more, balanced, and M13 could compete with it. But for me, I just prefer the damage of the Grau, and its slower fire rate just feels a lot more controllable than M13, because I'm not going to lie, I mentioned this in my last video as well. With the M13, I couldn't control it as well as I wanted to. Now, granted, that was probably a me problem, or maybe the attachment that I had on it, but I just felt like it was kind of a little too fast, and I felt like I missed a lot of easy shots, as opposed to the Grau, where its lower fire rate allows me to hit the shots that, I should be hitting. And I don't know, I'll be honest, now that I've used both of them again, I kind of feel like the M13 requires a little bit more skill to use than the Grau. I feel like it seems like a casual weapon, but I feel like it requires a little bit more skill than the Grau, because the Grau, like, it's so much easier to control, and the damage is a little bit higher, and so it's just, I don't know, like, I think casually, from a casual perspective, it's a lot better than M13. But again, the M13 felt satisfying using, and I'm not gonna try to hate on it too much anymore because, you know, at one point I hated it a lot, but recently I grew love for it. And right now, again, with this whole Grau situation dilemma, I'm leaning more towards the Grau. And, you know, again, looking at the M13 like this is a weak pea shooter, but I'm past those days. I'm a reformed man. But with that being said, let's get into M13. And here we have the recoil pattern for the M13, which by this recoil pattern, you can see my claim of the recoil being like a lot more controllable to be put down. But I don't know, man. Again, it's just the fast fire rate just feels like it makes this gun at times a little bit uncontrollable. And I know for some people it's no problem at all. And believe me, I know that M13 is not this, you know, it shouldn't really be uncontrollable even for the slightest because, you know, it has no recoil. But I have a lot of instances where I'm just missing shots. And I know it's a me problem because I'm sure some people in the comments or people who are watching this video are very easily capable of making this weapon just 100% accurate, you know what I'm saying? Not miss a single bullet when they kill someone. And that's, you know, it's great. Good for you. I just can't do that. I don't know why, but I just literally can't do that. And maybe if I use this weapon a little bit more, I'll be able to. It's just like the AMAX. When I like went back to the AMAX a while back, I just couldn't control the recoil. And, you know, it took time for me and a couple of attachment changes to actually get the hang of the AMAX. And I think if I did that with the M13, I could, you know, get to that 100% accuracy or, you know, that 95% accuracy. Because right now, man, I'm telling you, man, I kind of disappointed myself using this gun because I was like, it should be easy to hit shots, yet I'm missing all these shots. And I don't know, it just made the Grau seem a lot more, you know, better to use. But at the end of the day, although the Grau, actually this is a random thing, but one of the things I liked about the M13 was the fact that I was using the T-Pose VOK sight. And I know I've seen some people use the VOK on the Grau, but I don't like using sight on the Grau because the iron sight, the Archangel barrel, makes the Grau have the best iron sights in the game, or one of the best. And that was one of the best things that the Grau had going for it when it was meta. And even now, like, just that iron sight is so good. But I've gotten to the point where it's not that I can't use iron sights, but I start to engage in like long range battles, and iron sights at times just, I don't know, like it hurts me because I'm not as accurate as I could be if I had a sight. But, you know, I just don't feel like I want to put a sight on the Grau because, again, the iron sight is so good. But if I shoot someone from a long distance, even with my iron sight, I'm going to be missing a lot of shots. And I had a lot of instances as well of me using the Grau where I was shooting from those far ranges and I was missing a lot of shots. And just, I don't know, man. Right now I'm having like this crisis on Warzone where my aim control has just been kind of like out of whack. That's partially what made me put down the AMAX because I felt like now I was starting to get to the point where I couldn't 100% control the recoil anymore. Like, I don't know, I'm going through some dilemma or some sort of phase where I'm just sucking with recoil control. I hope I get over it soon though because, man, I know for the people out there who can control it a lot better than me, all these weapons that I just mentioned are just threats. And you've seen examples of people who are capable of controlling that recoil and are just absolutely demolishing the competition. But, yeah, again, these two weapons, man, I think should be given a lot more spotlight. I feel like they're underrated even now in this, I guess, whole landscape of Warzone that we have right now where anything can be used, and yet I feel like these weapons are underrated. Actually, no, I don't know, maybe not so much, but I don't know. I just still see a lot of people use the AMAX, and, you know, all those other weapons still leaning towards that, which makes sense, though, because I feel like some people look for that, like, overpowered above all weapons, and I guess the AMAX could somewhat be considered that way just because of the damage, but I don't know, all the other factors, I feel like some of these weapons just beat it in, and I don't know, the fair landscape of this game is really fun, and I'm hoping that it stays like this forever. Even when they add weapons, I just feel like they should make them so where they're strong to be able to be competitive in the landscape, but not overpowered, because as soon as that overpowered weapon comes into the game, man, I know it's gonna just completely flip Warzone upside down and just ruin it, bro. And I don't want that because right now I'm having a lot of fun, and, you know, it's allowing me to make these type of videos, you know, like it just shows that the diversity of Warzone is great and we're able to use whatever and be successful with it. But in the end, if you're gonna ask me what gun I prefer at this very moment between these two, I would have to say the Grau. I do like the M13, and, you know what I'm saying, I find a little, you know, hidden love for it, but at the end of the day, it's the M13, you know, like, the gun is just too weak for me to like fully commit to it. Like I committed to it for a little bit, but I just can't because of the damage. And now that I know that the Grau feels, you know, a lot better, I'm about to lean over to the Grau. And my personal ranking for ARs and Warzone at the very moment, I'm gonna have to go AMAX 1, 2 Grau, 3 M13, 4 Craig, and then like 5 would be like, what would I put as 5? I actually wouldn't even know what I put as 5, but I know that sounds kind of crazy, and I'm not just saying that for the video, but I prefer the Grau and M13 over the Craig. I don't know why. The Craig clicked for me at first, but now it's like, I don't know, faded away from that feeling. Like I don't really feel comfortable using the gun, and you know, I wouldn't say that AMAX is like the solidified one. It's just that the damage is a little bit too much compared to these weapons, so that's why I put it as number 1. But I mean, I don't even use the gun anymore, so, or at this current moment, so you know, I guess these guns could move up to my 1 and 2 pretty soon. But anyways, man, with that being said, let me know what you guys think about both these weapons right now, and where do you guys place these weapons in the whole, I guess, meta landscape of Warzone at the moment. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.